I like
No,
want to be a male person when I grow up.
Yeah.
I like to get to
I think the worst part about being a male person would be like.
Yeah.
That was
The Nebraska?
extreme.
Yes.
Like the hot summer and then it's really
Yeah,
cold.
Nebraska. Go anywhere else and be fine.
Yes. Okay, I am gonna call the March 11th meeting of the Board of Education to order. It is 7 o'clock. If we can talk really slow. Let's take roll.
Jason,
Here.
Cassie Cluster,
Here,
Chase Craddock, Brian Locker,
Here.
Matt O'Daniel, Shannon Wilmot.
I'm going to make a motion to excuse Matt O'Daniel and Chase Cradwell from tonight's meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
And we need to vote on that. Okay,
Shannon Wilmot, Jason Arp,
Yes.
Cassie Cluster,
yes,
Brian Locker.
Yes.
okay. Now we'll do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we have our approval of the regular meeting agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the regular meeting agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting agenda as presented. I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote.
Jason Arp,
Yes.
Cassie Cluster,
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot.
Yes.
And I was like,
I thought maybe you were gonna say something.
My bad.
perfect. Okay, next we'll move into our welcome to the guests in a public forum. This is our public forum aspect of it, so anyone that would like to speak to the board, you please sign in to the tablet up front that we have. The Open Meetings Act is posted on the door. If you have any questions, what am I forgetting? Nothing. Anybody like to speak to the board? Nope. Okay. Sounds good. Moving on. Next, we have our consent agenda. 2.1 is our minutes of the previous board meeting and our monthly financials. Dr. Lewis, is there anything you want to point out?
Jen made a note on there for us. Mrs. Art made a note that the Knudson's bill is for 2 invoices, not just 1. So that's a little bit bigger than we would normally see it. And again, they fill our fuel tank for us. That was some blended fuel it was past winter. And then occasionally the drivers swing by that way too and fill up there. So it wasn't, when we met, and Matt reviewed these, while he wasn't able to be here knowing that. So we met and he reviewed anything for that. You see our math curriculum is starting to come in that we approved last month. So that's a touch math, again, that was a special education piece of the math that the curriculum that was approved. Was that January or was that February? Anyway, so we've got that ordered. Natural gas bill is always a little bit high this time of year because that's how we run the heat that's going through our units. So that's where we are on there. Everything else is there for you to review. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask specifically?
I didn't notice this earlier on the waste connections for the trash. It's like all grayed out.
So those are monthly bills that we get every month, but they've been getting later and later, so they are not getting here before this is being posted. So they're typically on the hand payables then for next month because now they're here.
Okay.
But
And that's a monthly
it
bill?
is a monthly bill, yes.
They
They just are not getting
Yeah.
to us until the beginning of the following month, so.
Okay. Alrighty. Sorry, I'll be back. Can I get a motion to approve? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the resignations and the reassignments.
Oh, sorry,
are there
that's in the
too, but
same
that's
section.
okay. Yeah, it's all in the same section, but, typically we don't talk through those too much. I just wanna make sure everybody knows. Deb Walling is for retirement, and Mrs. Smith, is also chosen to not come back. And that's what Mrs. Glassford is as well too. And then the reassignments were, at their choice at the teachers, so we kind of asked that. And so if you remember, we initially had hired one that we thought was going to fill Mr. Mattison's position, and since then we've had, I want to do this, I want to do that, I would like to try that. So we've got a kindergarten and first grade teacher swapping positions there. So Mrs. Krofnowski, who's been kindergarten for years, is going to go to first grade, and Shaylee Matson, who's been in first grade since she started with us here, is going to go down to kindergarten. And Mrs. Winslater wanted to go from grade 3 down to kindergarten as well. So what we have right now to get filled in the elementary are upper elementary positions, that 4th and 5th. Because the teacher that we hired that we thought was going to fill Mr. Matson's in the upper elementary said, yeah, I'll take 3rd. So here we are.
Sounds fun over there.
So anyway, that is reassignments at the teacher's request.
Perfect. Okay. What else am I?
Now you're good.
Okay, now can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, guys. Well, let's vote.
Kelsey Plesner,
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Shannon Wilmont.
Yes.
Jason Rupp.
Yes.
Perfect. Item 4, curriculum instruction reports. And we have our foreign language and 2nd grade tonight. So I have Spanish on here first. Mrs. Foster, would you like to start? Perfect.
Well, I am happy to report a few achievements that we have done during the last 4 years. In the multicultural part aspect of the learning the language, in Spanish 1, we have been dealing with some information about Spain and the differences between the classes and the schedules between the American schools and the schools in Spain. And then we read a little book about a kid in Spain going to school. And in the Spanish 2 classes this year, we have introduced, besides the music and certain aspects of the language, we have introduced some questions because they do questions all the time. So this year they are answering questions about specific things or information about Latin America, things about the Aztecs, the Incas, the Mayans, the mountains, certain things in Latin America that should be part of the knowledge of the language. And it has worked very well because the kids are very receptive of that and they are trained in answering questions. So this has been very easy to introduce. In Spanish 3, we have done some research about Latin music and how the music is so important, not only for the people and the culture in Latin America, but it has gone beyond the Latin American area to influence other other countries like the United States and all that. So they have made reports about music and they really enjoyed that one. We completed that last week. They also learned about some instruments and some fun facts about the music and the singers, and some of them wanted to try some dancing. Yeah, they wanted me to dance, but maybe next time. Then in Spanish 4, they read a lot of things for Latin American writers, and we go into the analysis of what is it that is behind those stories, what are the cultural elements that are hidden. I always tell them that each culture has it presents the literature. In their literature, what they present is some problems in their around their people. So those elements that they have to identify in their own culture in English, and they have now to identify those elements of the culture in the readings from Spanish writers. We're still to discuss some of the Hispanic artists, and they will be doing reports on those ones that I have there, God, Botero, Rivera, and Frida Kahlo. And they seem to enjoy presentations a lot, so they are working on those ones. Uh, in the opportunities for learning, we still have, we're offering the dual enrollment for Spanish 3 and 4, and uh, that has been uh, very good for the students because they are very uh, motivated about getting those credits. Uh, in the achievements that we have got so far, we have a lot of important achievements, especially in the national exam. Uh, in the last 2 years that we have done the exam, 37 students have got medals, either bronze, silver, or gold, and 34 have got honor, which means they are above the national percentage. And in all 71 students have got medals in the last 2 years. This year, two students of Spanish 4 presented the STEM test at UNL, and one of them got a gold seal of literacy, and the other one got a silver one. And their performance was outstanding. I really think that they have done a great job to achieve that. This exam, the STEM exam, measures what we are supposed to get in high school, which is a high level, intermediate level, and that's what they have demonstrated with this test. Besides that, in the past, two other students, native speakers, have also presented that exam and passed it. And last week, Katie Douglas was one of 65 students in the state of Nebraska to be recognized for the World Language Distinguished Scholars Award, and she got high honors. She had to present a portfolio and other elements that they had to consider for that. So she was one of the ones that was honored with that. And finally, for the areas of growth, I think that one of the ways to achieve or to motivate more the students to study Spanish would be if we introduce a class, like a beginner's class in the middle school. And of course, since I'm stepping away from the position, that would be up to the new teacher to carry out that goal. And I really thank you, everybody, for the opportunity that I have had here in this district. My students, who I will miss a lot, and it has been one of the best experiences. This is, I think, the 10th school district that I have worked for, and this will be the one that I will always keep in my heart because it's been wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions or anything? I was terrible at Spanish, so good job. And that's awesome that there's some students that are doing so great and getting really high honors. I don't know. When I was in school, I don't think anybody did that. So there's.
I got one question for you. How many students, so you had two of them, that did really well at state or whatever. Do you have more than that compete?
Yes,
Or what do you do?
this is not required by the school, so I just ask them if they want to do it. I give them information, send all the information to them, and then they decide if they want to do it. This was the first year that UNL has it. Before they had to go to Kearney, but this year they not only they did it at UNL, but it was free. And in the past, they had to pay $50 to do that. So it was a very good opportunity for them, and they did an excellent job. But as I said, it was not required from the school, it was just something that they can do. And the Department of Education promotes this, and they ask if we want to send, and they give us information so that they can go and participate. The day that they went, my students told me that there were only 15 students from the whole area. So there is not that many students that do that. That Arlington, a very small community school, has two students representing them is wonderful.
That's good.
After that, for those first 2 years, which is required, rough percentage, how many kids go on to Spanish 3? Do you have an idea?
Not very many. This year, I have 4 students in Spanish 3, and 4 students in Spanish 4. From this year from Spanish 2, I think there is like 5 or 6 students sign up, but that is a tendency nationwide. Most students comply with Spanish 1 and 2, and just a few of them will go on to Spanish 3. That's why I said that maybe if we start earlier, because the states like in the East Coast, where I have some friends that there is large amounts of students going to all the way to Spanish 5, is because they start in middle school. So when they get to high school, they have some credit already. So they start in Spanish 2, 3, and 4, and then they go all the way to 5. So that's one of the ways, the tendencies that I have seen in other states where there is more students. And of course, some universities there require more than 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's the big element also, because they always say, no, I'm not gonna have to do it anymore because the university only requires 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the state of Nebraska actually, the Department of Education doesn't require.
No, they require that we offer it, but the students
Yeah.
don't have to take it to graduate. And then, so the private schools or the smaller, the state university system requires 2 years, but any other school pretty much doesn't require it at all. So I just think it's great that we have some kids that are choosing to take, more than what they feel like they have to. They've always been a good experience. I was going to mention too, if you're in the building, are you going to do your bulletin board outside of your classroom with the Frida Kahlo again, like you did last year? It was so beautiful. So some of her bulletin boards outside of her classroom are just very, very pretty and well done. So if you get a chance to walk down there and take a look at it. She's also very artistic. So.
The students actually did the flowers. They're asking me this year, are we going to do the flowers? I'm like, well, maybe.
That's awesome.
That's good.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. I know that our kids appreciate all your hard work, and obviously the school does as well. So thank you very much. Okay, we will do 2nd grade. All the ladies.
All right, you have all of those. All right.
Awesome.
Start with what I'm like. Okay. Hi, I am Marcia Cow, one of the 2nd grade teachers, and I'm going to touch on the area of language arts and what that kind of looks like in 2nd grade. So we use the district's curriculum by Zaner Bloser, which is called Super Kids. Super Kids has a pretty rigorous phonics program. We like that the curriculum offers supplemental lessons in this area, which we use as part of our skills-based small group instruction. This matches nicely with the science of reading research and approach to instruction. In writing, the curriculum addresses the various Nebraska English language arts standards. The program progresses through the year with writing that becomes more complex and longer in length. For example, students in the first semester complete a 2-paragraph research writing assignment on an animal, but later in the year, we haven't gotten to it yet this year, they will complete a 5-paragraph page report. So it does grow in complexity as the students are progressing. An area that we especially like is how intentional the curriculum is in teaching fluency, which is very appropriate for readers in the 2nd grade as they transition from more of those beginning stages of reading where they're spending a fair amount of time sounding out words to becoming more skilled readers and actually finding the meaning within the text that they're reading. As I mentioned before, the Super Kids program matches nicely with our state standards, but there are a few standards that, in the area of comprehension especially, that we provide some supplemental instruction beyond what Super Kids has to offer to ensure that we are teaching all of our state standards. In short, as teachers, we really like the curriculum and the students seem to enjoy it and relate to the stories that it offers for them. So that's our language arts program.
I'm Nicole Fairhead, and I'm a second grade teacher, and I'm going to touch on math. As Dr. Lewis was saying earlier in her report, we are in the process of adopting a new math curriculum. We've used Envisions 2.0, which is a Pearson Savas product, for the past 7 years, and the elementary has selected that curriculum again. So we, as a team, have just met with Tasha Wolf, our curriculum director and assessment coordinator, and put those standards of the new curriculum to the standards of the state. So we just finished that up last week. We teach full group and small group instruction to meet the needs of our students. We're able to differentiate through that instruction. We really have a great pacing guide and scope and sequence that goes along with our curriculum. And some of our math scores are some of the best in the state.
Okay. I'm Morgan LaRuse, and I'm going to talk about science and social studies and skills because there's 3 of us. So we teach. I teach social studies. She teaches skills, and then Nicole teaches science. So Nicole uses our district's curriculum, and they do lots of hands-on activities. They just finished up habitat dioramas, which will lead us right into our field trip to the zoo to study those habitats, which is perfect. Like I said, Mrs. Cow teaches skills. This was kind of, we wanted to departmentalize kind of. So like one person teaches social studies, one person teaches science. And we were like, but there's 3 classes. So Mrs. Kelp graciously said, I will touch on skills. So like reading skills, and she's focusing on teaching our students how to break apart multi-syllable words and the tricks and the trades of that. She is awesome at that too. And then I get to teach social studies to all 3 classes. We just finished up our economics unit, and we are moving into teaching symbols, the US symbols. Fast and Furious.
Yeah. I like it. We talk a lot with curriculum, so I'm on the curriculum committee as well. We always talk a lot about making sure that things line up with our standards as well as state standards. So I know Mrs. Calpio talked about like that some of the curriculum doesn't line up with state standards, so you guys have to kind of critique it a little bit. Is that become more like the further down the road we get? Like obviously from adoption, a lot of times they probably line up a little bit closer, but as those standards change throughout the years, do you see that you have to do more editing to what you're teaching, or is it kind of across the board?
I feel like the course that we're on as a district matches up fairly closely to when the state is reviewing standards. So that doesn't seem to be too big of an issue.
Good.
Do you guys agree with that?
Okay.
The thing is, when you buy the box curriculum, we'll say like Super Kids, it's a national program, like all of these are used nationally. So to be specific to our state, there's gonna be those little things. They're really darn close to national standards. But there's just a few things that we have found. For example, very specifically, because we're teaching it, the Super Kids program does not teach an author's point of view when you're reading a piece of let's say, fictional writing. And that's pretty important to understand that viewpoint and how the story is being told to you to maybe understand full comprehend or have full comprehension of the story. So we supplement that, but it's not too much. There's just a few.
Good. Yeah. We want to make sure that we're going, here you go, it's what you like.
No, it matches, and we spent time looking at that before we kind of like say, this is what we want.
Absolutely. So it's kind of across the board, there's always some programs that are lacking a little of something. Okay, awesome. Great, anybody else? For a lively bunch tonight. We're just waiting for me to mess up, that's really what's happening. It's fine. Okay, thank you guys very much for your reports. You are welcome to stay, but if you would like to leave, we understand. I'm out. Okay. Bye, thank you. Go enjoy the weather. Okay, I have, the next thing on here is our practical report by Gabby Morin, our elementary music.
Yeah.
Okay, oh yes, all right, now it's all coming together.
Yes. Hello, I'm Gabby Moore and I'm elementary music. For the last year and a half, I've been working on my master's degree in curriculum and instruction, but with a focus on trauma and resilience, and how to build a trauma-informed school and trauma-informed classrooms. I've learned a lot about how trauma impacts our students, high amounts of stress can cause short-term memory loss, just for example. So if students are in a classroom and they are experiencing high amounts of stress, all of that learning is gonna go right out the window. So that's kind of what I've spent my time learning. I am now working on my practicum. I have talked to the administrators about it, and I'm kind of here to get insight from you guys. I've only been here for 2 years, and you guys know the community best. So my practicum is a family homework night. So we have programs like the homework program in the elementary. What is that called again? Homework club. That's what it's called. Homework club in the elementary, and then GRIP in the high school, which are great programs. But family homework night really focuses on the relationship and the connection between families and between the district. One thing that has rang true in every single class that I've taken is that relationships and connection is like the lifeblood of people, and that is what is most helpful in pulling students out of emotional dysregulation. So my goal with this program is to kind of take away the stress that homework creates at home. I have had the privilege to take in I don't have any children, but I've had the privilege of taking my niece since November because she really struggles with homework. She was failing almost every class. So we took her in. She's got severe ADHD, and her mom has 3 other younger kids, and just that stress was too much for them. Because I do not have any other kids, I did not realize just how intensely stressful it can be to do homework with a teenage girl who doesn't want to do homework. I like even just sitting at the table with her being like, we've been on this question for 15 minutes. You know the answer, write it down. And luckily I have gained the tools in order to stay emotionally regulated. It made me think about her mom and how angry she gets and how it like ends up in this like fighting match. And I think that unfortunately homework does a really good job of ruining the natural love for learning that children are born with. So through this practicum, this is like a really breezy version of it, but families, either it would just be adult and student would need to come together. It could be like an aunt who goes and helps with the student and work on homework with them, or a parent or guardian. But the student would be required to come with an adult to work on it with them. Teachers would be there for support to not only model like the homework itself, but also model patience, model emotional regulation, in if it's getting tense, things like that. So it not only helps the students, but also helps the parents talk with calm language in times of high stress. And it also provides equity among all families, because we would provide these, whatever the students would need for the homework. So it takes away the need for Wi-Fi, the need for a device. One thing that I noticed with my niece was she loses papers a lot, and we had to get a printer because she either would lose the paper or leave it at school, so she didn't have to do it. And so that just having a printer there negated, it just got rid of that issue. And we could just get the homework done, and I was like, okay, no stress, we just get to print it. So I guess my questions and my biggest concerns right now are, how do I get buy-in from families who might not, who might struggle with being totally involved in their child's education? That's my first question. I'll just stop there. So yeah, if you guys have any insight on how, because that's my biggest concern, is not the families who do homework with their child every night. It's getting the families here who really need to practice doing that homework with their kiddos. Any tips?
I think as a board, we all have done that in different areas, but to me, the first thing that strikes out would be to speak with your teachers on who, they're gonna know the kids that are struggling the most with their homework. Because they have that connection with those kids. So that would be my first instinct, would be to speak with those teachers and say, is there, something that you think would work well, whether it be a referral program or a letter that goes out that says, hey, we offer this. It's on, if you'd like to know about it, we'll start, we can sign you up. Sometimes I think it's easier to get people to just tell people, we have you signed up. You just need to show up, instead of asking them to come and sign up or to let us know if they're coming. Because then it's an easy way for them to say, well, I'm not signed up, so I'm not gonna do it.
And right now, I do have it kind of formed as a come and go event. So if the kids have one worksheet, they can pop in, get the worksheet done, and then leave when they need to. But yeah, I like that idea.
Shannon, do you have anything, being an educator? I think the big thing is getting people in the door.
Yeah.
I think just, I don't know, like that, and communicate what you're doing, so that people know what the benefits are, over communicate.
And I will be sending out a survey too, to kind of see how many parents are feeling frustrated with homework and things like that.
So, when they finish homework for the evening, did they turn it in there at school, or is that the risk of,
That's
hey,
a-
you've done it, now we take it home and we forget to bring it back?
That's
the
a
next day?
really good point. I could talk with all of the teachers and have turn-in folders, so we could get that, situated.
I think probably an easier thing is just a bucket. Everything for every teacher goes in the bucket. So that way there's no getting things lost in folders, it's just everything is in this place.
I like that. Yeah, because that's one of the biggest things with my niece is she'll have 8 worksheets finished. And I'm like, you just gotta turn them in, babe. So,
Well, and that's that executive functioning.
Yeah.
That's what they struggle with.
and it's hard to build that skill too if you're not right there. So, okay, and that might be an incentive too for them to come, for parents to bring their kids, because then they can see them turn it in.
Yeah.
So I like that. What other resources other than, I have highlighters, computers, note card, basic things like that. What other resources do you think that families will need?
Again, going back to the teachers, kind of asking what it is they're working on, because if we have kids that are struggling with math, and one of their tools to help them with math is to use, I don't know, little tokens or dice, maybe have those there for them so they can actually use what they're practicing with in school. So it would be a big conversation between the teachers.
Yeah.
And then the actual event to make sure whatever is being worked on in class, you have available during that evening too.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm taking notes. So
That's
I can update all my things. And then finally, and this might be more of a conversation that I have with Mr. Shada too. What like days do you think are like? Because I'm in elementary and I'm kind of just like oblivious to scheduling things if I'm being honest.
Oblivion is good.
Oh, dang, I wish that was me.
But like, what would be ideal for both like teachers and families?
That's probably hard.
Yeah.
Wednesday nights are church nights, but we also don't have activities, so that's kind of a rub there.
I think that's a really big conversation between what activities are going and also the elementary, because there's a lot of, I mean, having friends that have elementary kids that don't have high school kids, they're like, why are you gone every day of the week? What are you doing? And I'm like, we're going to our kids' stuff.
Yeah.
There's something almost every night. But at the elementary level, they're just not into it yet. So there might be a night when talking to the elementary parents that really works for them, but for middle school and high school parents, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
So
So I guess what I have right now, because I had to write like a whole paper and have a timeline, I just threw some dates down.
Yep.
Right now, what I have is the same night every week. So like a Thursday is what I have, but it can change from 5 to 8 p.m. But
I think Sue's got like just that consistency piece, and also knowing that you may get James on one Thursday, but not the next Thursday.
Yeah.
But maybe at least that Thursday was good. You got a ton done.
Yeah.
And the next time,
Yeah.
okay, we had the punt on that day, but we're gonna go next week
Yeah.
again. So like some of that may be that 45 minutes or an hour and a half, maybe more work you get done in several days outside of our school day. So that some of those things are just what are you winning at, and what do you have to realize we're gonna try to get it next time.
Yeah.
And I think like piggybacking, it's probably gonna be, like a year and a half before it catches. So
yeah,
not getting discouraged when you've got the one parent,
Yeah.
and that's a win, and then it just will kind of steamroll from there.
yeah. Okay, so maybe I'll just shoot you an email.
Yeah.
And
And I like the idea of that Thursday night too. For some reason, I feel like Thursday, like Friday
just my favorite
folders.
days.
Well, that's great. But Friday
Okay.
folders go home, and that's gonna be,
Yeah.
full. And like if you can set a kid up to have a good weekend with their parents, not having this stack of homework that they've got to do on Friday over the weekend, where they know that they can come on Thursday.
Yeah.
If they're getting behind and get it done, and then have a nice weekend instead of the Sunday night battle at the table trying to get it.
Yeah.
that's a great, I was thinking of it from like complete opposite side of things of, okay, we didn't do anything over the weekend. Monday, my kid got their chewed because they have nothing done. So Tuesday night, let's get in and get the stuff done. So that would be, it's, opposite end of the spectrum on that. So maybe again, keep saying this, talk to the teachers and see
Okay.
what time of the week is worse or better for them on when are things getting turned in, or when do you have things that are typically due? And I'm sure that's gonna change with every teacher, but if there is a little consistency there, it might help you kind of lead into a date. And maybe it is Thursday, because that's a great idea.
Either one.
Positive end of the weekend.
Friday tends to be like the spelling test.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
that's good too, because I've never been in a classroom where I get homework. I just get the
Practice your songs.
they're really instruments right
All right.
now.
Oh, that's
It's
great.
just really chaotic. Yeah, do you guys have any questions for me? No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's just cool.
Well, you just mentioned
Thank
you're
you.
speaking to a room full of parents too, so we've all had those conversations with our kids at a table. Maybe not Dr. Morgan, but, and we've all got the kid who tries our patience most. Like I would have taken my oldest one to this and been like, we're sitting here and we're doing this because you won't like melt down and I won't scream at you in public. So-
Yes.
And that's another thing too, is like when they get
We are in public.
My other ones were fine, but like now you're in public and they're gonna see how you act.
Mhm. Yep.
It could be the parents act bad, because I remember a lot of nights with IXL.
Oh, yeah.
Just saying.
We
I
have
wanted
to
to
hear
throw
the
a
record.
computer out the window.
Yes.
Yeah,
What do you mean you gotta do it in 45 seconds? How did you get it right and you went backwards on your point?
Now you're 30, not just 90.
We're just at 89.
yeah, I,
Check it before you-
Pressure on the next question. Are you gonna get it?
And there is parents.
in this, until November, I had no experience with it, and then all of a sudden I had a 15-year-old. And she has not only normal school, but summer school from failing a class. So this weekend we spent 5 hours every day on homework. And so, yeah, and she's building those skills, but that really is like where, like, because I learned a lot about homework and things like that, but that's really where it like stemmed from was, oh my gosh, this is very hard. And I have the tools in order to help. Like, yeah, I just
That is
back
awesome.
a little bit. Great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, you can stay if you want, but you can go to play practice.
I'm just gonna go home.
All right. Thank you. Okay, next, we are moving into the review of annual district plan. Dr. Lewis?
Yeah, so we reviewed this at our board retreat that we had in February, so this is the latest rendition with all of the changes that we proposed or that things that we've added in strategies. So everyone here in the boardroom has probably went through all of these. So I think just about everybody was at the retreat, so. Some just different things going on again in our goal areas. We've got 5 goal areas. We have budget, we have community engagement, we have facilities, we have student performance, and we have social and, not behavioral and mental health for staff and students. So in the goal area of budget, that's tricky. A lot of times they keep adding new things for us to have to consider when we're building our budgets and things like that. So we've been in a good position this last year. The new funding formula treated us well this year. So we were able to really drop our levy, which does not help us meet the goal of trying to bring, to remain as neutral as we can in a levy without wide swings. We had to have a wide swing this year just because it wasn't possible for us to maintain that. We didn't have the needs because of the new funding formula. So now we'll see how that changes this year, but this last year, what we had done was vote to access the additional 6%. That protects our ability to levy in the future. It really has nothing to do with our ability to grow our budget. It's just our ability to generate the revenue that we need. And who knows if they'll keep that soft cap, because there's always talk about what's going to happen in the legislature. In the goal area of community engagement, I feel like this is in the past couple of years where we've made the most strides, or at least had the most intensive intentions when we're trying to increase this. So last year we held our first annual community engagement meeting. This year we held our second. We pretty much reversed what we did last year. We front loaded a lot of information, asked for feedback on what people wanted to know, and created a nice presentation and did Q&A. So this year we contracted with NASB and we let them kind of run the show. And so we're still in that data gathering, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So we're engaging with the community as well as we can, and we'll look at some statistics about how many people completed our surveys and things like that. And some other things that we've got going on. We've had some great student group community participation this year, some new things that have added. Student council did a stuffed animal drive, which was really heartwarming to see how the students were willing and wanting to bring stuffed animals when they knew that it could help children who are really in scary situations where they didn't have those things, to have a comfort toy for them to come to. The food drive that we always do at Christmas, we've just got some great things there with our students, actively seeking to help the people in our communities. So we want to continue building on that. So we've got some great staff members that assist with those and have some really good ideas. In facilities, working with our buildings and grounds meeting to address our HVAC unit replacement. We approved that purchase last year, and so we anticipate that will happen in July-ish this year. Everything's all going to happen in July, right, Mr. Shada?
Yes, ma'am.
Just because that's when we're supposed to do the gym floor too.
Mhm.
So, yeah. And we've added a facilities report to our weekly admin team meeting. The next plan after our NASB community engagement meeting and the board retreat was to engage again with DLR, who is the architect we worked on in the last renovation that we did where we added the classrooms on the northeast end there and renovated other spaces. So I did visit with DLR this morning, actually, and was Zoom with them. So kind of told them where that strategic planning process is at and where our community meeting and our board retreat left us. And they're gonna pull out the plans that we had last time and to see if it included anything to do with that courtyard space and with our industrial arts and ag spaces and locker rooms too. We kind of talked about that just a little bit, and then the outside gym entrance. So they're probably going to come and visit with us, I think maybe in June, and kind of talk about some ideas. I said it'll probably be more like next school year for a full engagement because I don't have too much built into the budget this year for architecture, but that was a heavier line item when we were working on the project, and then I kind of backed it off because we're not working with them really right now. But I think in the 04, 05, or 24, 25 school year, we can increase that a little bit and kind of engage with them a little bit more to talk about next steps. And by then we should have, better steps towards that full strategic plan as well.
Will those those meetings with them include the committee as well? Or
Yes,
was
we will
just-
try.
okay.
Today it was just touching base.
Yeah, yep.
Someone that we had worked with on, from Boyd Jones on the last project and now works with DLR. So she reached out to me and I said, funny, you should ask because
Awesome.
we just talked about engaging with DLR again. And I said, they turned over like 3 project managers while we were working with Boyd Jones and DLR last time. So I wasn't quite sure who to reach out to. And so she reached out to me. So
Awesome.
it was a great opportunity to sit down with the Zoom. And so the last project manager we had with DLR was on Todd. Some of you might remember Todd if you were on that committee. Jason was, and now Emily, who actually pitched the Boyd Jones for construction manager at risk, is now working for DLR. So 2 people that we know from the last project, which is really great. In the area of student performance, we've added the Jobs for America's Graduates, which is the JAG program, and then the modular math unit through Metro Community College. We've talked about those in the past couple of years. Mr. Kingston, do you have any updates on either of those?
Yeah, we're very hopeful that we have our teacher for JAG. And then we're working through, you saw resignation with math, so that kind of throws a wrench into the whole MCC stuff. Just,
It's an opportunity, Mr. Kingston.
yes, opportunities to figure out what that looks like. and who that is. So, yeah, excited for it.
Are we doing JAG 912 or 712?
7-12. Yep.
All right, thanks for the updates on that. And then in this area of behavioral and mental health, which is our newest goal, it's about 4 years old. Our guidance staff wrote another grant for additional on-site hours from Arbor Family. So Arbor Family, our contract with them is twofold. It is the services that the people can leave and go to see their counselors. And so there's anywhere from 2 to 5 visits based on how they kind of code your visits and things like that per occurrence that somebody would need them. And that is covered in a basic fee that we pay for them. So that's students, staff, and their families can access that at any time. We also then contract on-site hours, so they send a counselor to work with some students whose parents can't get them to counseling through referrals from teachers and things like that. So we had a counselor who was coming a half a day once a week, and now we will have her a full day once a week because our wonderful counselors wrote for this grant to get enough money to pay for the rest of the hours for a full day. And so I think we've got her schedule filled up already. And then the establishing of the room of requirement, which we've gotten so much positive warm feedback from the community on and staff buy-in. We think that's going to be a great thing.
How is that room of requirement like funded, or how does that work?
Some of it will be through donations. So far what we've asked for is a gently used Eagle gear, that type of thing. And then basics, like the toiletries they need and things like that. So the Arlington Education Foundation granted $1,000 to kind of get supplies and everything like that to get started. And so what we need, and we've also had a donation, a kind, and the staff member said, when this is up and running, my wife and I would like to purchase a washer and dryer for the group. So it's just been received really, really well. So the school needs to find a place where we can make those things happen. We've got a couple of different areas that we're looking at that could become those room of requirements. What we want is them to kind of be out of the way, not a high traffic area, so we can take the kids there
Or
without notice too much, right? So that's what we're working on now. But yeah, that grant was a great start for that. Awesome. And then when somebody's willing to donate, which buy you a washer and dryer,
Yeah.
it's a lot of your startup costs, right?
Yeah.
So.
Once it is kind of like up and running, is there going to be like a list of these are the things that we're needing posted, like on the district page, or how is that going to?
I'll talk to Mrs. Toft about how she wants to kind of proceed with that, because right now she's kind of managing that.
Okay.
She wants to keep it from becoming the next Goodwill. I mean, we don't want to take
you
everybody's
don't-
donations of all their things, so we want to be real specific
Yep.
about the donations that we're accepting.
Yes, absolutely.
So, so yeah, I would assume that she's going to have a list that will get sent out and say, we're running low on this, if anybody would be willing to donate that, or, you know.
Because I'm sure, like you said, it's been received really well from the community. I'm sure that the community would like to be able to
Right.
give in some way, but like you said, we don't want it to be, it's very specific and making sure that
Yes.
things are used
Yeah.
or in things that are needed are actually
Exactly.
available.
Right. Because I know when Stella, they have something similar to that at USD where Stella is attending, and like she took business clothes out of my closet that I don't wear anymore. She's like, Mom, there's girls that need these clothes to go out for their first interviews and things like that. She took a whole things for her own closet, and then she took a whole bunch of things that other people could just go, and that's what they were asking for at that time. Yeah, so I think we want to be real intentional about it like that. So.
Perfect. Great. Okay, next is our principal reports. Dr. Morgan, you are first. You're 6.1, so it's how we're rolling today.
Okay. So, since the last time we met, we had Valentine's Day parties, which is super fabulous. Lots and lots of fun and treats and Valentine's. February is National Dental Health Month, and so our nurses went around visited all of those classrooms. They talked about dental health. She gets toothbrushes and toothpaste donated from local dentists, and so each child receives a toothbrush and toothpaste. And you'll see on there a list of the people who donated this past year. They also do some dental health projects. There's a picture down there of sweet teeth with some floss. Created with marshmallows. I know, very cute. Also in the elementary, we were working on soaring. So we're working on common language at the elementary level and common expectations. So SOAR stands for being safe, owning behaviors, being active learners, and being respectful. And so we're working on teaching and modeling these behaviors to students in specific areas. We've already taught and reinforced routines in hallway behavior, bathroom behavior, lunchroom behavior. We also we did morning routines is on there as well. And then today started a week of bus behaviors. So yeah, very excited for those. And so reinforcing those, once all of the skills are taught, or once a group of skills are taught, then we reinforce with tickets. Kids get their names and prizes when they earn tickets. We'll build on this going into years to start being able to track where we're having a little more, a few more issues, and then reinforce those areas. We like to call it a little PBIS light. So for those people that know some education things, we're PBS light. That's what we're rolling with on this side. Good feedback from kids, good feedback from teachers and other staff members being able to speak the same language across the board. We also had, it was Read Across America Week, and so we culminate that. In the years past, we've done Dr. Seuss breakfast. This year, we mixed it up a little bit, did if you give a student a pancake breakfast. It was very well received. While people do love themselves some green eggs and ham, they're very excited to get pancakes with lots of fun toppings. Toppings were donated by the PTO, which is amazing. And then you'll see some pictures there of some lovely servers we had. and wonderful people. We served 268 students and adults. Some breakfast last Friday, 2 Fridays ago. Good stuff there. And then donations from Project Harmony. I think you've heard this already, but Cassie Rowland at the high school heads up student council, and they collected stuffed animals, and the elementary participated in that as well. Just a great event. So good stuff there.
Awesome.
That's all I got.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Morgan? Okay. Mr. Fingston.
Awesome. I'll throw the numbers in on what we collected there. Is we had 506 stuffed animals, 4 blankets, 18 mini plush keychains, and $21 for Project Harmony. What they do is provide support to when they're investigating potential child abuse victims, different things like that. So these are comfort things for littles. All right. So, and wanted to give a shout out to Mrs. Rowland. Ultimately, it's her initiative that took off and drove it in all the classrooms. So good deal. Blood drive is on Wednesday. So if you want to come and get blood, come on in, get signed up. I told you last month I'd give you the new course enrollment request that we get. So we have the U.S. military history. We've got 2 semesters. We've got 13. These are just registrations. We haven't done overall classes and do these actually fit in, but most of these work out for us. First semester, second semester, numbers there for U.S. military history, and then we had a lot for intro to sports medicine. So we would not have 18 in that class. I don't anticipate we would have to figure it out. Some different requirements as far as what the prerequisites and all that kind of stuff, and the priorities would go to upperclassmen. So ultimately, we've got numbers to move forward with those that I talked to you last month, okay? Senora talked about Spanish on her. She did a better job than I ever could have, so just wanted to highlight those. I didn't know they were on her report, but we got a couple things there with Katie Douglas and Blaine, and she talked to you about those. So track on down. Got some good pictures from, those are some Twitter X pictures of our students at state girls basketball in this one. Class A on Wednesday, their opening round. And then after this got posted, we also had a Strive team at D2 basketball on Friday. Yeah, but they got to, I mean, look at what they're running. They look, I mean, if you look at those, that just looks like the NBA sidelines of people who are, it's just, it's amazing what they get to do. And they reached out to us. So that says a lot about what Mr. Parson has going on and what our kids do and what they present, what people know that's going on. So really, really cool deal, and appreciate him, appreciate the kids. And I know the one on Friday was it was a scramble because we had kids on spring break. So to figure that out Wednesday and who's going to go and all that kind of stuff. So we had some people step up that gave up some of the time that they wanted to be on spring break, but did a great job because it is a phenomenal opportunity. We've got leadership conferences coming up before our next board meeting, so I just kind of put those on there just as an awareness. Those are big events for us, and that's a great thing. It does take a lot of our students out, but they get to showcase what they've been working on for the state. So we anticipate they'll do some really great things like they always do. And then specific highlight for Brooke Hogan Camp, the first state proficiency finalist in Arlington's history, and some other state results over on the side over there. So ultimately looking forward to what our students are making happen across the board, some opportunities there and some things that are coming up.
Awesome. Perfect. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Bigston?
When they did that, Aaron, so the kids did that Strive deal, was that ever posted? Did they do that on any other channel, or what did they do? How did they do
It was
that?
on the NFHS, right? It's
Is
a
that what it was?
subscription. So some of the things.
Because everything I looked was a subscription, it wasn't free.
So that's the state controls it. So
Okay.
some of those things, when you get to that level, are out of our control with how we can broadcast and who can access it and things like that. If that was us just running it ourselves, it would be free access. I do know that a lot more schools are going to a paid access model because you do lose more people from the gate, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, that was through the NFHS.
Okay.
Yep.
Cause I was wondering, cause I didn't,
Yep.
everything I looked at to try and find it, I'm going,
Yeah.
I ain't paying to watch
Yeah,
this.
well, yep, I get it.
So, okay. That's what I needed, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Shaden.
Well, just, this is not a report, but just why I just spent time on that. What was really neat, Mr. Parson and I talked today, the technology that's coming into our gym through Daktronics is the same boards that are running at PBA and at, the Vandy, especially Friday night. And so our kids got to use and start to see what kind of cool things we're doing. So when we said like, hey, this is at Power 5 Division I schools, we weren't telling you nothing, it's the truth. And so they're like, wow, there's like a million options. I'm like, yeah, it's just at your fingertips, what's next ahead of you. So that was pretty neat to see what we hope for is coming to up the hallway here. So we had a really exciting end to our winter season. A lot of you were there for all the rides and fun of those things, and took a few minutes to highlight those. I'm super excited about our dance team. They were 7th in their jazz and 11th in their hip hop routine out of Grand Island, and so congratulations to them as well. Emmy and Britt, Emmy was first team all conference, and Britt and Macy were second team. Our boys team had a nice year as well for basketball. Trent was second team, Oliver was second. And then we had some really fun things too, like Brooklyn and Khalees were our first ever ladies qualifiers for the Girls State Wrestling Meet. And Khalees is your first medalist in Arlington history at 4th place there at 125. And Brooklyn had a great tournament too as a freshman, so congratulations to them and their whole team. Braxton and Colton qualified for the boys, as you see there. And Colton just came up short in the heartbreak round, but great career for him in wrestling and in the tournament. And Lizzie Meyer and Dathan Hansen both qualified for the state swim meet. And I had to triple check with Lizzie and her coach because Lizzie's medaled a lot of times. And those events are listed there. She's an 8-time state medalist at swimming, so that is impressive. So we're excited to induct her and several other kids into our Hall of Fame at the end of the school year here. So congratulations. Special thanks to Dr. Lewis for braving the Spirit Bus.
Nope, it was a great time.
It was. And so I would say that's one of the highlights of the winter season for myself, even though it was a little chaotic at times.
2 buses became one, and we got them all there safely, and everyone had a place to sit. And
They did, yeah.
It was great.
And their AD, when we walked in, goes, you brought a lot of people on. I was like, yeah, heck yeah, we did. Oh, I might have said something else, but that's good. But we were pretty excited about
Yeah,
that.
along with Pet Band and the parent bus that came, yeah.
And the 2 bands playing the anthem together was a
That
special
was
night.
so
pretty
cool.
cool.
That
Yeah.
cool.
So cool.
Yeah, credit to Mrs. Massey and the director from Adams Central for putting that together.
Yeah.
Doing things that
That was awesome.
You probably heard them just a little bit ago, but we're practicing for the musical right now. And so that's this week, Friday and Saturday, 2 shows on Saturday, 2 and 7, and the Friday night at 7 is always there as well. So I'd love to see you come out. Boy, they put a lot of time in, a lot of time for a long time. And so super excited, and it's always kind of a highlight through the spring. So, and I just do some key dates of what events are coming up here for us. So, yeah. So don't get an overview at the questions.
I don't think so. I know that we had talked about the scoreboards.
Yeah.
Is that coming up?
Yeah,
today?
it's coming up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't remember too many things that we talked about.
Yep.
It's all running together.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Awesome. Great. Okay. We'll move into 7 then. Superintendent reports. Dr. Lewis.
Yes, so the first thing that I've attached for you is the hot lunch review on-site. That's the on-site day. We don't have the final review. So after about 3 weeks of collecting documents and things like that, and 3 months of stress, if you ask Julie French, just because we knew that this was coming, they visited for a day. It went really, really well. I think Andrea was her name, came, and she does this in schools all across the United States, came from Texas. And so she sat in our lunchroom through a service of all the lunches and watched what the kids were being served and what they were taking off the salad bar and things like that. And she said, I even ate the lunch. It was delicious. Sometimes I bring my own lunch. You never know what you're going to get when you do my job. So she was very complimentary. The staff was wonderful. So some commendations there on the end of the second page. Multiple staff helping to administer the program worked very well together. The food service director has been administering the child nutrition program for a long time and has a great understanding of how to do this, and that they followed their plan. They have a very clean workspace. The food they offered was attractive. The students enjoyed the meal, and they all have a good rapport with our students, and everybody works together really well. So there were a couple of things that popped up on there, primarily some things that kind of came sometimes things come out of confusion, right? So there was a can of mandarin oranges that the salesman had insisted were from the United States, and she said, nope, the only place mandarin oranges can come from is from China. So they had told us that what we were buying was from the United States, and that's very important. And if you're serving something that does not come from the United States, you have to document that. Well, her salesperson had told she didn't need to document that, but now we know. So pineapple and mandarin oranges cannot come from the United States, so we've learned that. Something about the civil rights statement, which we were asked to change, that we were told at the beginning of the school year that we had the wrong civil rights statement on our website, on our menu. She said, no, the one that they asked us to change to, and I'm not sure who they is, I'm just talking about Mrs. French, right? So, because we had recently changed that, they said, nope, you changed it to the wrong one, it needs to be this one, so it was a different one, the federal civil rights statement. Anyway, so just a couple of things, right, that are easy to correct. These are easy to correct things.
So then is there like paperwork that you just resubmit, like, here's what we fixed?
I
and-
suspect that but they have not followed up with us yet. So it's been like Wednesday, it will be a month since we've had that visit. So I anticipate, we sent them lots of physical things. And so I know there's a couple of things too, because the federal procurement, there were even some things when we were doing the renovations in the kitchen, for example. Some of those things were more than $10,000 and some were more than $5,000. Well, we had done everything properly for like the things that were more than $5,000, but anything that was more than 10, you were supposed to go through our board approval process, which we did, and get our estimates, which we did, but you're also then supposed to send it to the Department of Education to get their approval for it, which I had been told, so I sent it to the lady that told me I needed to do that, and she didn't tell me that she was not the person to send it to, so there were some little things that I know will come up, things that you learn. It's very rarely that you're purchasing something like that for the kitchen when you're doing like your just normal operations and you're not doing the renovation that we did because we had that money to spend, where you're purchasing things of that, that magnitude or that price point where you actually need to submit them, especially in a school our size. So that was the first time that we've done something like that in any of the schools that I've worked in. So my knowledge of how to get approval from the NDE, other than telling the lady who told me I needed approval, here's our list. Here's everything that we did. Here's all of our documentation. So I know some things will be coming back probably from that. And I don't know if they will be technical assistance, which means we'll just tell you how to do it better, or if there will be some kind of a finding that they'll watch for more carefully next time we have a review like this in 5 years. So we'll see what that looks like when it comes back. And this is completely separate from like when the health department comes and inspects too. That's a whole different thing. So she said
So how often do you have this one?
we have this every 5 years. We have the health department every year, but this was a big review where they look at everything. And we had to send them labels from cans, and we had to send them X amount of months worth of menus, and then a week's worth of, because our menus are a little bit non-specific, then a week's worth of what was exactly what was served on every plate. And a year's, it was the 22-23 fiscal year, all of those transactions that were, it was a lot. It was a lot of documentation. And then all of our free and reduced things. So it's not always this big of a deal. It's once every 5 years is what we were told. But I think it had been maybe a little longer since we had that. So overall, I mean, we left with, happy feelings. She had never had Dorothy Lynch dressing before, and she tried Dorothy Lynch and she was in love. She could not imagine how she had lived
that poor woman.
without Dorothy Lynch. To that point, she was going to buy some before she left. But it was, I mean, it was good. Julie was very, very nervous about it, and the lady was still kind and wonderful, so it was a good thing. You have my leave log there for you to review. I put a couple of forthcoming dates too on there, so you'll see, the spring conference for NERCSA, our rural community schools, is later this week. So I actually have some executive committee responsibilities, so I will leave at about 2:00 tomorrow afternoon, and I'll be there on Tuesday evening and Wednesday, Thursday. You may come back before Friday morning, but we will see. It depends. I'm supposed to be part of the program on Friday morning too. So I put those on there. I did take a couple of days, mostly off during spring break. I think I worked collectively about 3 hours in those 2 days. So work on those vacation days. I wore stretchy pants. So that feels like a vacation. Legislative update, I was on the legislative conference. Well, I went to the NERCSA legislative conference a couple of weeks ago, and then I was on the Zoom again last week as well, which was the GRIT conference. So big things that are coming out that we're hearing about have to do, I mean, sports and spaces is coming back. They will probably pull it onto the floor, but there's probably not enough votes. And if you remember, sports and spaces was students have to participate in, no, they have to use the locker room of the gender that they were assigned at birth, and no other things. So the problem with that coming out is that it's going to open schools up to lawsuits if they, you know, if they do that. So they're really hesitant. They think that there's enough support to bring it out onto the floor for it to get debate, but probably not 33 votes to move it forward as an actual law, but it could bring any progress that the legislature could make to a screeching halt because it will be a hot topic. Again, they're talking about different ways to protect that soft cap that they gave us last year on our budgets. There's some senators that said, wait a minute, I mean, we gave you that tool and that mechanism, but we didn't want you to actually use it. So like most districts across the state voted to access whatever additional tax requirement they could that was connected. So it was anywhere from 3 through 7 additional percent. Not everyone used all of that. Some of them used a small part like we did, which was, you know, about 2% of the 6% that we were eligible to access. And some of them just voted to access it, which increased their ability to levy and then didn't use any of it at all. But next year's taxation authority was based on that. So the senators and the governor in particular didn't like that everyone took advantage of the tools that they gave us to use. So anyway, there's talk about how that could or could not look. We all know that opportunity scholarships will be a ballot initiative in November. And again, that was for the donations to private scholarship granting organizations for students to attend private schools are in after we've met, you know, your tax, like a credit from your tax bill, not a deduction, but a credit, which is different from 100% credit is initially how it was written. Very different from any other tax credit that you get or any deduction that you would get. So that was the primary concern of that. So that one went to petition, so it will be on the ballot. However, there's another bill that Senator Lenahan is supporting this year that would basically back up the opportunity scholarships. Like a new bill passed, it's kind of triggered in so that if opportunity scholarships get voted down by the taxpayers in November, there's another bill there to take its place. So we probably start this all over again. Awesome. There was some money attached to a bill that would help schools implement the new requirements for the computer coding, etc. Why can't I think of it? Not English tech, but the new requirements.
Computer science.
For computer science, thank you. I had the word computer, just the science wasn't coming out of my mouth. And so That's a Senator Wallace bill. It's Senator Wallace from Fremont, representing, her district over there has been traditionally extremely, education friendly, and this year is her last year, so she's introducing a number of what she calls feel-good bills because she wants positive things to be happening, not negative things to be happening. So we're waiting to see which ones of those come out of the education committee, and one of them was some funding connected to some of those things. There were more things to mental health, assistance to schools and things like that. So there's lots of things coming out like that. And the Nebraska Act, which was a different funding mechanism, which was up against the governor's plan this year, has kind of been revised and it's coming back again too. So the senators are talking about that once more. So that would change, the primary change that would make was moving some things inside of the formula that were outside of the formula, and I have to go back and look at all of my notes. So some of the funding was considered outside, which did not impact the local effort rate. Looking at moving them inside, which would basically drop your local effort rate and would give you more state aid through that mechanism. So that's legislative updates, and again, it's a short session. There's about 3 weeks left, so we're not exactly sure what's going to come out of that. Lots of senators term limited too. I think there'll be 16 new senators next year.
Holy cow.
49, so
It's a big voting year.
It is. You've got the NCSA and the NASB and the NERCSA updates are attached there for you to go to review. And said, Jen and I went to an NASB event last week on the amplified budget workshop, so we got some good ideas from that. And then I will be at the NERCSA conference in the coming days here. Just a general statement, we'll have 4 candidates running for the 3 seats that are up for re-election. 2 incumbents have chosen to run again, and then we have 2 additional citizens running for the board election. So I don't think that means anything as far as the primary goes. I think you have to have 6 on the ballot before that becomes a primary issue. And so it should just go straight to general election there. And then we have the scoreboard discussion, which we were asking about earlier. So what I've attached for you to take a look at is the list. Do you have it on yours, Mr. Kinston? Oh, it's not, so are you logged in, or are you just accessing it from that? I think I set I have the settings wrong on that. So
I am just on the.
I'm gonna do something real quick here. So anyway, it will just take me a second to go through this. We've got all of our spots except for one at the founding and one at this premier, the second one, Mr. Shader.
We're missing one at the anchor.
Yeah, one at the
And
anchor
one
and
at
one
the
at the
founding.
founding. So we have got 2 spots that we're waiting to hear back
From a couple people.
from a couple of people. We're waiting for answers from them before we,
The exciting part about that is it's all the boards are funded. We're just, now we've reached our goal. Now we're reaching that next goal, which was paying off the electrical install. So we're at 272.5, original goal was 268.5, and so we're over that, obviously.
yeah, so we're at 272, yeah. I'm
So
just about done changing the setting here.
So that's pretty exciting.
And Jackie, if you refresh, you should be able to,
Yeah.
give me 1 second.
And it's March, and so.
If you refresh now, you should be able to see that attachment.
So on, with this, they're all under 5-year, can you see that?
No, I heard that, yeah.
They're all on 5-year terms, agreements.
yeah.
Yes, so they didn't have to pay all of, the one is 5,000, they didn't have to pay 5,000 all up front. So how does that work with the first, if the individual said, yes, I wanna do this, but I only want to do 1,000 every year, who's contacting them then every year? Is that part of the, your contract that you wrote up with them? Okay, I'm gonna call you March 1st to
Yeah.
collect that
There's
payment?
dates in the contracts that
Okay.
say we expect your first payment on this date, the next one will be subsequent, and we'll reach out to them, we'll probably invoice them.
It's a December date. I think
Yeah.
It's either, I think it's 12/1 is the date we wrote.
Yeah,
Okay,
so we'll do that. There's several people listed here that paid the full amounts at
Mhm.
once, some of them, yeah.
Quite a few.
Some of them paid their first ones immediately, some of them asked for a little grace this first year that they wanted in on that, so, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and again, that's flowing through the special building fund. That's where
Yes.
you get deposited and where our payments are made from.
So on that, just to see, obviously we know what has been committed. Can we get an update too on,
Scroll down a
it
little
doesn't
further
need
and
to-
you can see the total committed, Jackie, there we go.
it doesn't, need to be listed out like on the above, you can see who, like who the partner is and then what was committed. But on the bottom, because I don't feel like we need to say who has donated what at what time frame, but on the bottom, can we have a note of what has been collected?
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't want us to like,
I don't have the exact number in my head right at the moment, but I believe I have deposited $82,000. I think it's a little bit higher than that, but I
Okay.
don't have the exact.
Okay.
But if that's right around where it's at.
awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly, we should have, and a couple of our folks that we talked about were
Mhm.
springtime commitments, once they
Yeah.
joined on, so that's in the next.
Yeah.
they actually
Just
told
so
us
we can
spring
keep a
break, yeah.
running total on making sure that we are held accountable as the board as well, to make sure that we are putting that back in there.
Yeah.
Because I know there's gonna be a lot of people that are very curious to make sure that all goes back in there.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
And so we all have to
As
look
it
at
should
that annually too, so we'll have to report then every year annually to the 5 years of expired. We never anticipated that anybody would pay it all up front. We knew it was a 5-year commitment for all of them when they signed up, but it's nice that some of them have paid.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. Super exciting. And when are those being roughly
You want to drum roll?
being put in?
Like the 27th is our date of the electrical, the final piece of electrical that was on back order.
Okay.
This March, yeah, and so, first of this month, and
Couple
so
weeks. Yeah.
that's done, the boards have been done since Christmas, that's the crux, like the
Yes.
actual boards have been constructed for a while, and so they will come down. We have a newly engineered board, the way they install them, and so they're bringing their engineer team back to kind of see how that goes up like this, so.
Cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And like some of you guys have asked, when I've seen you about some of the electrical, they just a little patient on because they want to look nice and clean in the gym. They don't want it to have to L over again or something like that. And so we appreciate Kathy for doing that kind of stuff. So
Awesome.
they'll be a little tidy up and then the Daktronics technically will turn it over to us and we'll figure out how to put that all together. So thank you to these sponsors and everybody who get it out to the community. So
Awesome.
if you have ideas on that, shoot them my way. That'd be awesome. So.
Perfect. Great. Okay.
Okay, and then the last
one more.
bit of our report, is the response rate that we received from our survey. So we will talk with Caden and Ben again in May is what we are planning. Our response rate was all administrators, all board members, 81% of our certificated staff members completed that. Of our students, there must have been some trouble because every teacher was given time in TA, but we got 220 responses out of 338, so that response rate was 65. And classified staff was a little bit lower than we expected, only 25% of our classes classified staff. Now, we acknowledge that sometimes classified staff don't check their emails and don't read and don't notice that you told them that they needed to complete this. So a little bit lower than we expected. Parents, however, we only had 81. So we had sent that out to all of our parents. We talked to we mentioned it to everybody at parent-teacher conferences, the QR codes around, so they could just scan them quick and take it while they were waiting. The parent one was very succinct. It didn't take very long to take that. And we only had 81 parents participate. So that was a little bit disappointing because I know that went out to probably 900 people. So 10% response rate. There is a school of thought that when things are going well and people are happy with what's going on, they tend to maybe not participate in those surveys when they come out and say, hey, tell us how we're doing.
Yeah.
But also, and as we mentioned it, people are like, oh yeah, I got that, I'm gonna do that, I received that email, I'm gonna go ahead and take it. And we're like, well, you can scan it and take it right now. I'll do it later when I get home, that kind of thing too. So sometimes those get missed. So overall response rate, good here. I mean, 81 is great. 65 is great. If you are doing a survey for a dissertation, for example, right, if you get a 25% success rate, you're overjoyed. You're thinking that's a great sample of your group of people that you were trying to get. But we were hoping maybe for like more parents. Yeah. So anyway, so that's where we're at. And in the conversation that Chase and I had with Caden, it's like a little bit more time to roll out all of that data, get everything coded, the themes and things like that. And so May, they will have a presentation for us again. And that again is a big piece of our strategic plan.
Is that survey still open? Like if anyone's watching the survey?
No, they closed it. They closed it No, they closed the parent one sooner than that, just like a few days. The last one that they had kept open, I think, was for classifieds, honestly. But yeah, they closed them all out. Just figured it out.
Are they going to be coming here to a board meeting to
Yeah,
present all that?
they'll come to the May board.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, next is committee and representative reports. Negotiations committee met, that is me today. So we met, I don't know, sometime earlier, and we talked about, a couple weeks ago, we talked about our, contracts for our principals and all of our fun people that are here.
It's February 19th.
There you go, February 19th. So it was a little while ago. Obviously, this is kind of typically the time that we would be going over those, and discussing those, but with both Matt and Chase being gone, we wanted to have the full board present to discuss those. Obviously, we lean a lot on Dr. Lewis on telling us how she feels that the staff is working, and we look a lot at the arrays as to what other schools are doing. So we gather a lot of information in making those decisions. And we'll go over all of that next month, since we would rather, do that as a whole board instead of partial. So,
Right, exactly.
so we'll go over all that again. In the meantime, we will still meet
Yeah.
again.
We'll send out, we'll begin the next step.
Yes,
For
so
the-
next board meeting will probably be kind of heavy on contracts, and because we're still going through trying to get, all that stuff together for the budget. So,
But you will, I'll send out, the array information. We had a request for the array information, just determining like principal salaries. So I'll send that to the board next week, so you can do it, well, or hopefully tomorrow if we get to it, you can look forward to all of that to review.
Awesome. Great, I think we're sitting really well. We're doing a great job of being, our board goals is to be at or near the midpoint, and that is definitely what we're doing. So, we want to make sure that we are being good stewards to our staff too. So we want to make sure that we're, paying them for the good job they're doing, and they're all doing a great job. So it's been very positive. Good things happening. Okay. We have no unfinished business. New business. 10.1 is to discuss and consider and take necessary action to approve the 2024-2025 calendar. And it is up there.
It is up there, yep. So this calendar was constructed, it was a little, we did not have our in-service day in January where the calendar committee typically first meets. So I sent a sample out and we kind of did a lot of our committee work via email, and then we had one final face-to-face committee to kind of review for everybody to get everything out. So that was, I think we covered a lot in our emails committee. It was just, we didn't have an awful lot of comments or feedback. We tried our hardest to give something that everybody had hoped for. This year, the big thing was where Christmas falls and where New Year's Day falls. It was normal and logical to have a 2 full week break over those holidays there, and to have 3 weekends, because it would be strange to come on Monday, the 23rd, I think was what, the 23rd. Moratorium has already started there. It's the day before Christmas Eve, which we're not normally here on that day anyway, or to come back, on February 3rd when we've had the first and the second off. That's just kind of challenging and yucky. So it kind of limits where you can start and begin to get the 186 contract days that our teachers have, and the 178 minimum 178 student contact days out of those 186. So kind of start from that break and work backwards. But going from that pushes our start date. We'll have new teacher orientation on the 7th, in service on the 8th, 9th, and 10th. The first day, 8th, 9th, and 12th. And the first day for students will be a half day on August 13th. Then we have Labor Day and a staff in-service day in September. The end of our quarter and parent-teacher conferences are about mid-October there, the 15th. We have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off during Thanksgiving, and then again that long break over Christmas. We come back and we do have a staff in service on January 20th, which is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We had that off this year. The previous years in the past, we've had staff in service, and the way we needed to get our calendar days in, we needed to take it as an in-service again this year. Parent-teacher conferences and a day off in February, spring break in March, break at Easter again too. There's only really technically 2 snow days built in for next year. I have a good feeling about it. Mother Nature is going to be kind to us next year. And then
Shouldn't have said that, but okay.
nobody is gonna remember that.
Yes, exactly.
We're all gonna come for you.
Yep.
You get 5 feet of snow.
I'll be snowed in, you won't be able to get to me. So, and then we've got a half a day for our high school track meet, and then a work day for teachers for the junior high track meet. That one starts a little bit earlier. We need all hands on deck. And so last day, graduation will be the 18th for the seniors. Mr. Finkston wanted me to put the seniors' last day on there, even though I'm opposed to that. They don't need to know when their last day will be. But it looks like it'll be the 14th for seniors. And then the last potential days of school are here. So if we don't have any snow days, the last day will be the 21st. If we do the last day, it'll be the 23rd.
Okay. Okay, this is an action item, so we need to vote on it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so can I get a motion? Anybody need a? I will move, I don't know where I went, quite honestly.
There wasn't anything in there,
Oh,
but,
didn't I put that one?
I will move that we accept
Approve, yeah.
or approve the 2024-2025 calendar as presented. Thank you, Shannon. Let's vote.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Shannon Moore,
Yes.
Jason Art,
Yes.
Cassie Plessman.
Yes. Okay. Then we have our, it's okay, we're just muddling through it. It'll be just fine.
No. Yep.
Next we have our
Well, we have
we're reviewing policies.
Yes, we have
My things look a
policies.
little
So,
weird right
we have the 1200 to the 1501s, which is our legal anti-harassment, ADA accessibility, ADA grievance, things like that. A couple of years ago, we added that service animal policy, therapy animal, all of these things are student gifts, fundraising, parent organizations. Some of these are short, some of them are long. Some of them are driven by statute and some of them are specific to our community. And then the 2000s to the 2200s, which is the functional principle of administration. So this is a principal and your superintendent, basically evaluations, duties, regulations, and things like that. Does anyone have anything specific about any one of these policies? I don't want to go through.
Is there anything that we need that is changing that we need to be aware of?
No,
I know some of them are
nothing-
pretty
yeah.
new.
Yeah,
So.
some of them are relatively new. Like I said, that therapy animal one we just adopted. And we're on a 3-year cycle, so some of them may have been newer than that, though, like for example, the Title IX and things like that. It seems like just about every year, the Title IX actual policy 1210, that usually comes out with some revisions after the legislature takes action and things like that, or the federal government passes something, like I think the last time that it changed was something minor, like included like sexual orientation as one of those factors that could be a Title IX compliance thing. So typically that one changes a little bit more frequently than 3 years, so that one probably has a newer date than others, but we're not proposing or needing any changes to any of these right now.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions or things that they want to talk about? No? Okay, would anyone like to make a motion?
We typically don't on those.
Okay, great, because I'm like, I'm not seeing anything here.
No, we just review those.
What's happening?
Yep.
Okay, great, yay! All right, next one is a motion.
It
It is an action item.
Yes.
Excuse me. Okay, so 10.3, we are going to discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve the request for early retirement incentive program application of Deb Walling. So we saw that come up earlier that she's obviously going into early retirement. And we have 2 of those, correct? And we've already approved
She's,
one.
yep, we approved one for Mrs. Washburn earlier this year, so this is the second one. Policy says we'll approve 2 of them, so.
Perfect.
Yep, and this is, I think, the second year maybe that she became eligible. So last year she was eligible as well too. And I have the application on my desk if anybody would like to review it. But that's personally identifiable thing, so it's. in my desk.
Yes.
Yeah, so she's taken all the proper steps and she's ready to be a grandparent and to hang out. It was sad how she broke the news. It was dress the future you day or something like that for Read Across America. What do you want to be in the future? She came I want to be retired. It's really sad.
Good for her. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I got to experience Mrs. Walling. She was amazing. So good for her. I would like to make a motion that we approve the early retirement incentive program application for Deb Walling. Can I get a second? Thank you, Shannon. Any discussion? Nope. Let's vote.
Shannon Wilmot,
Yes.
Jason Mark,
Yes.
Cassie Clausen,
Yes.
Brian Long.
Yeah.
Great. Moving on. Okay, next is 10.4, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to enter into agreement with Learn to Move for the SPED PT services for 2024-2025 school year.
So it's a little bit early. Typically, this is a contract that comes in the summertime, but it came across my desk and I did not know because we're doing a little bit early, so we'll get it signed. So Learn to Move, we've been working with her for many, many years, and she just charges state rate for the services only that are required of our IEPs. So if you want to examine that contract, it's in my desk. You can take a look at it afterwards, but it's the same contract that we've approved for the past many years.
Is there any, like, it's the same thing that she's always done or something?
Yes. Yeah.
New with the
The only
contract?
thing that might potentially change would be if the state rate changes, which it does just a little bit, but the contract is not even specific to what that is. It just says state rate for services provided.
She has a monthly bill, it's always on our financials, it's roughly 200 to 600.
Yeah, it's not,
depending on-
it's not awful.
Yep. Awesome. Okay, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Learn to Move for SPED PT services for 2024-2025.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Shannon. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote.
Jason Mark,
Yes.
Cassie Clausen,
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot.
Yes. Great. Next one is 10.5, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve the emergency operations plan.
Yes. So the emergency operations plan has honestly been in process for about 1.5 years now. We sat through a summer workshop. And he gave us basically this template, but you see it's a long template and it took us a while to work through some of the pieces, and it was kind of working on this when we had time to do it because we're busy people and it was just hard to get it done. So this is a template that was provided by the Department of Education, and we went through and filled in the pieces that were specific to Arlington. A lot of the changes were locations, were people, were if something happens to Dr. Lewis and she's part of the trauma, then who's the next person in line to handle that, et cetera. So, awesome. And hopefully you've had an opportunity to review that. Things to know that once we get this, the people that worked on this, myself, and it names board members that had to be on there. So our board president, our vice president, our safety team chair, which is Mr. Shada, our safety team members, Mr. Bingston, Dr. Morgan, Officer Ashley Judkins, Mike Robinson, Dan Douglas, for both Washington County EMS and Arlington Fire Department. So those are the members of the committee that worked on this. There were a couple of others that also sat in the trainings. Mrs. Arp and Mrs. Martins and Mrs. O'Connell sat in on the trainings as well too. So if you have any questions, I mean, I'm not gonna go through all 56 pages.
Great reading, guys. Great. Is there anything, like, that you wanna point out to us as board members, like,
I think what's important to know is if we have reunification, which we've been practicing, so a lot of these things we've been practicing, we just haven't made it in plan until we did that. Our reunification is at the Ryman Building and Two Rivers, so parents will be at Two Rivers and Ryman Building will cause the students and we'll bring them together that way, so we've got a well-practiced plan for that with all of the staff. We haven't practiced that with students, but we have practiced that with staff. Yeah, so we need to communicate that with parents and make sure we're practicing that with groups of students at some time. It's just hard to coordinate that, it's super hard.
it's a lot,
Yeah,
it's a lot going on.
but just so you know, and then, we have to put in there very specific things, like if something actually like destroys your building completely and you can't get into it, where do you think you would go? What's your contingency plan for students, that type of thing. So there's some things in there, like where would they actually attend school if you don't have a place for them to attend anymore, and so you're getting a temporary thing set up. So there's just some interesting pieces in there like that.
Where will this be for concerned citizens and parents?
This will be on our website as soon as the board approves it, and then we send it to the Department of Education.
Awesome, great. Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the emergency operations plan for APS.
I will second. Thank you, Shannon. Any discussion? See none, let's vote.
Cassie Lester.
Yes,
Brian Locker.
Yeah.
Shannon Wilmot.
Yes.
Jason Knopf.
Yes.
great. Hey guys, we made it. There's no further business, so we will adjourn at 8:41.
Yeah.
There you
Sure. We did it, there's that.
go.